My name's NICOLA GALE. I'm the President of the British Psychological Society in the United Kingdom. It's been my very great pleasure over the last 6 months to host the European semester. That's the European semester of the European Federation of Psychologists Associations. That's the European body that now represents 37 countries throughout the continent of Europe in terms of the discipline and profession of psychology. As part of the European semester, our annual conference this year had quite an international flavour. They all took part in an international round table. The international round table focused on the challenges, the opportunities, the shared areas of interest in the discipline of psychology, also the challenges and contributions of psychologists in the various countries. Also at the conference we had a keynote address from the President of EFPA, Telmo Marino Baptista. We also had a European symposium that was put on by EFPA, focused on intercultural working, the intercultural challenges and how we train people to work interculturally, which is a very important topic for people who are trying to work interculturally both within their countries and also more widely across Europe and internationally. An important part of the way we work with other psychology associations is to sign memoranda of understanding with them. These agreements basically set out how we're going to collaborate together, what we're going to do, specific things that we're going to share, different expertise that we can contribute between the two societies. So in the UK and in the BPS, we believe that psychology and psychologists have got a lot to contribute to society's challenges. That's the challenges in the wider society. One of the roles of our society, our discipline and our profession, is to share with policymakers what the psychological evidence base is so that policies can be psychologically informed. That's something that we think is actually one of the major contributors to the public good in terms of what we're trying to do as a society. So that's our view in the UK, and we asked our international colleagues what the situation was in their countries too.
Since we have our organization 10 years more or less, we are very much more able to create awareness for the importance of the role of psychologists in society and what society can win with psychology. And we are trying to empower psychologists to do more in that field of giving to citizens more information about what they can do for them and for organizations and for the government, so local or central government.
In Germany as well in the UK, mental health problems are very prominent. And of course, psychologists work as psychological psychotherapists and help people overcome these problems. That's one part. But also, mental health problems are a major issue in work situations. So we work making work conditions better for people, so to prevent actually that problems arise.
Politics are very important, and one of the things that we do is we regularly lobby government. So with that treaty we have responsibilities to our indigenous population, the first people of our country, the Māori, and as a result we are very interested in ways in which we can power share and model power sharing.
We are in the first steps of affirming and the identity of psychologists in Portugal, and to affirm our interventions in different areas of intervention in Portugal, and the affirmation to the society at all, and also to the politicians.
Another thing we wanted to look at is what is important to psychologists across Europe and internationally. In the UK, I think it's something about a culture of service. People, I think, are very conscious of how they contribute to the lives of individuals, families, communities and the wider society. I think that is a feature of psychology in the UK. So I think one of the things that people value, members value from the BPS is our contribution to those wider societal issues and our contribution to serving the public and the public benefit and the public good. So we also asked our European and international colleagues, again, what they offer psychologists in their countries.
Collaboration within Europe and across countries within the world that focus on psychology is critically important. I think that as psychologists, advocates for psychology, we recognize that we need to go global and think big picture.
Only if we collaborate together and put enough emphasis on the European Union, but also on the different national assemblies and federations, that we can have an influence.
Portuguese Psychologists Association has developed two programs specifically for psychologists and for early careers.
So for us, at this particular time in our juncture, European collaboration and international collaboration is central to what we're trying to achieve as a society.
I started working in Singapore and started getting more familiar with overseas concepts. I got like, whoa, cognitive behavioral therapy is a whole new world, but for some reason, well, we didn't have access to that important type of knowledge.
Well, the international collaboration is, I think, very important, as many areas are more and more regulated by the EU, and so we have to have a common stand in the European Union.
So in order to achieve greater goals, we must use or rely on the help or the assistance of psychological organizations from other countries.
Because we are more comfortable with each other. When we stay more time, we have social meetings too. Everything turns more easy this way.
We were very privileged to have so many European and international guests with us at our annual conference, and so it was a particularly good opportunity to work with them to cement our working relationships, build that ability and capacity to collaborate together, and also to think with them about how we could make a difference together and collaborate more closely over the coming years, in spite of the diverging political landscape.
Working differently means that we have no power. So being together means monthly meetings, inviting European Union decision makers and sharing the same topics. Not 25, 30 topics differently, but 5 or 6 very important topics, and there put the pressure always higher. Working together, so that's for FPA, International Union of Psychological Societies, APA, etc.
Different psychology associations can work collaboratively together by operationalizing what they do, sharing lessons, sharing successes, and problem solving jointly.
We asked our international guests how they'd found being at our annual conference in Nottingham. For us, of course, one of the highlights was their presence with us. Also, our international keynotes. We had international keynotes on open science and on leadership in particular, both very important issues for our European and international colleagues too.
I'm glad that I'm here, that I can really try to say a little bit more what we have been doing together, what we can do together, the projects that we can develop. So it's really important that we can keep the movement of collaborating.
I'm very glad that I got the opportunity to come to annual conference. I must say that BPS, that you at BPS are great hosts.
And I'm delighted to be here to learn so much. Last week We had a meeting of presidents of the national associations in London, and now there is this national association organized by BPS, so there's many more opportunities to meet people, to talk, to learn who is doing what, and so I think it's a great opportunity for networking, for
And of course, being from Russia, I have my own attitude, and I would like to learn and explore more, to be in the front line, to understand what's going on in the world, and to choose for myself and share those knowledge with my colleagues of what's the best.
We, Portuguese organization and BPS, we are committed with this goal of turn the Eurosci diploma a more broad experience to psychologists in Europe.
Important topics for us in the UK and the themes of our annual conference were leadership, development, community and society, and of course open science, which is the underpinning of the science of our discipline. These were very important topics too to our international and European guests.
Well, the Australian Psychological Society is the peak body for psychologists in Australia, and a large proportion belong to it. And we've been able to establish very strong relationships with our federal government. So they actually see us as the leading body for psychology.
Psychology as a science and psychology as professionals can contribute to evaluate and to prevent psychosocial risks in organizations in order to promote better places to work, healthier, better places to work.
Most psychological societies organise ourselves on a similar basis. We focus on education and training, we focus on science and research, the underpinning of the discipline, we focus on practice and ethics and the communities we serve.
Through this advocacy we've been doing, we were able to get our federal government to fund psychological services under Medicare, which is our universal health system.
We need to actually reduce the burden of mental health in the country overall. So it's trying to find ways of talking about the way in which psychology can contribute right across the country. Yeah.
The presence of organizations like EFPA is becoming stronger as we can affirm our voice and our ideas about what psychology can and how it could serve the people, the citizens of Europe.
I guess the biggest challenge is showing that we could work, and it is so important to show our work in the preventive field. And it is important to show the cost effectiveness of working like that.
The biggest challenge is to regulate the profession. Namely, in Slovenia there is no protection of the term psychologist, and psychologists are also not obliged to follow the code of ethics. So to pass the law on psychology is our first and most important goal.
Some of the areas I think we can collaborate on are public policy and influencing, not only with a common agenda across our home nations, but also thinking about how we influence the wider European and international bodies who can make things better for the citizens of the communities in which we live.
EFPA now represents 37 countries in Europe. It has a lot of knowledge because we are a volunteer organization with more than 400 people collaborating from all these countries. We have a basis of knowledge that is very strong, and we can work together to develop projects.
At the BPS Congress, we can share and we can deliver better service. So basically this refers to any field. industrial, organizational, educational, developmental, clinical, you name it.
We know better who we are, how we behave, and are more confident in the way we communicate, more easy to establish concrete action plans because we are more comfortable with each other.
I think for colleagues from European national associations from different countries, it's very well. It's a good possibility to learn how BPS is working with policymakers, how they're bringing this psychological knowledge to those who are making decisions.
It's very important in order to work effectively across Europe and internationally that we build those personal and professional relationships and have that continuity in terms of how we work together. I'm personally delighted that our new Chief Executive is going to be taking the lead on international working for our society.
My name is SARB BAJWA and I'm the Chief Executive of the British Psychological Society. I have a background in working globally for membership bodies. And I believe that the very best science is done internationally. It brings with it a diversity of perspectives and methodological approaches, but also a cultural diversity. And that diversity is important for psychology. And that's why I think it's important for BPS to be involved in international engagements and partnerships. International engagement is good for the discipline. At a personal level, I also think there are two important reasons why BPS should be involved in international partnerships. On the one hand, the nature of the challenges that we face are increasingly global in nature. Just think climate change. And I believe that presents psychological membership organisations from around the world with an opportunity to come together, collaborate, and demonstrate the difference that the profession can make in addressing these global challenges. Secondly, I believe that larger organisations like BPS have a role to play in assisting and helping build the capacity of some of the sister organisations around the world. That capacity building can take form in many ways, but just the transfer of knowledge in and of itself can be immensely valuable. I believe it's important for BPS to be engaged and active on the international stage because that international engagement is good for the science. It gives BPS a chance for its views and opinions to be heard, and it demonstrates how psychology can help in mitigating and addressing some of the global challenges we face.